costs to be provided to the child. The vote was 5-0. That was the only action taken by the board in closed session. And if we all stand, I'll lead in the flag salute. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of
United States
to
of
the
America,
republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Steve? Do I hear a second?
Second.
To be provided to the child. The vote was 5-0. That was the only action taken by the board in closed session.
Delayed.
Let me do the, no, we're,
And if we all stand, I'll lead in the flag salute. Okay.
I gotta figure out how to underneath this.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
Take a
States
to
of
the
America,
republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know. Good idea.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Steve?
Anybody else want water?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Aye. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent items. Aye.
Aye.
Campuses. It is a presentation that takes into account our county's current placement on the governor's COVID watch list. And it reflects some of the comments from the board at our last meeting regarding predictability and planning and responsiveness to student needs. So what I want to direct the board to do is take a look at what school districts in California are adopting a couple of models for reopening their campuses. In one scenario, there are school districts that are using the phrase until further notice. Basically, school districts have told parents and students, if you want to know when we're reopening, you've got to stay tuned. So it could be in a month, or it could be in 6 weeks, or it could be much longer than that. That presents a couple of opportunities, which is you can quickly turn a corner and make a decision, but it does create the potential for a feeling of uneasiness and a lack of certainty about what you're doing, and that it could bring kids back sooner, but it could create a culture where staff is not fully prepared or committed or invested to what you have assigned them to do, because it could change in a week or it could change in 2 weeks. So that's out there right now. From the time we created this presentation until today, a district, a pretty large district in Southern California announced that they're staying on distance learning until at least January. So they're one of the first districts to make that pronouncement. Other districts, including some locally, are considering monthly evaluations. So at each meeting of their board, they evaluate the readiness to return to campuses, and they could potentially make a decision at the end of August to come back in September, or at the end of September to come back in October, and vice versa. So it's really, for them, it could be as many as 8 or 9 or 10 school reopening decisions. So that,
Well, it doesn't sound like they give them very much time to
Yeah,
reopen,
that's
even
not
if
gonna
they
give you
decided.
time, yeah.
that's the issue.
That doesn't make
That's
sense.
too, like,
For them, it's a decision they're making, but it's a decision they might have to undo in 30 days. That's the drawback of that version.
Is this a legal issue or a marketing issue, or so to speak?
For us,
Yeah,
I think it's an educational issue, because I think what we have to do is we have to accept that so many of the factors are out of our control. The one thing that's under our control is how we educate the students.
isn't it too psychological if you think about it? Cause I've been watching a lot of the webinars on trauma, and one of the things the psychologist said that it helps not just adults but children is consistency, right?
They create it.
So if we're able to provide that, at least we give them something that they know is gonna happen.
Right.
Versus month to month, I don't know.
Well, this looks to me like a happy medium here.
This one,
What
huh?
you're presenting, yeah.
What I'm recommending to the board starts on page 3, and it basically says the board at our next meeting on the 25th would make a decision about how school reopening will be considered for the remainder of the year. And it's basically on 3 different dates. So the October date is on page 3. And on that time, if the board would determine, would evaluate, and we would present to the board a report that says, well, San Benito County is on the watch list, and if we are on the watch list, then I would advise the school board to extend the closure until January 2021. If we're still on the watch list on October 13th, I will advise the board remain on distance learning until January 2021 at the earliest.
Yeah,
If not,
I like the October 13th. I think that's a good date,
Is that a quarter?
middle of everything to kind of see what's been happening nationally with schools that have opened. You know, it's just good to get a temperature, of what's happening around us.
So let me do this. I'd say it's October 13th. Let's say somehow by a miracle we're under the 100 per whatever in San Benito County. If we say, okay, time to reopen, how soon would that be? How much notice do we give the parents?
I
It
would,
says you're November,
yeah,
right?
I would recommend November 9th.
Okay,
You put
So
it
it's
here.
I see what you're
just a
saying.
little bit under 4 weeks.
Okay,
It's just a little bit under, and it basically will create that clarity for the staff, because the other thing we have to do is we have to prepare the campuses for
yeah, that's my
the
point.
return of the teachers.
But it would be hybrid, it wouldn't be full return.
At that point in time, the board would
We'd
make
have
The
to
that
board
make
would
that
decide, okay,
decision, depends on.
okay.
no, my only request,
Don't forget, Putin has a cure.
I like your idea. My only request is if you could, in time for our August 25th meeting, because this is a mystery to me.
Yeah.
Is what is a superintendent's data inputs or informational inputs?
Yeah.
That would cause you to advise the board, because we do know that some schools around the world have opened up, and I don't know what the results of that are, I just read about them in the paper.
Yeah.
We know that some in the state, like New York, the governor said all schools will open, but they don't open up till after Labor Day, right? So we have a delay and whatever. But are there any in the state of California or somewhere that would give us, a sign of what's going on? That's number one. And number two, the data input from the feet on the ground that say, yep, distance learning, right now it's working or it's not working or whatever, because, we can afford to be conservative in our thinking if distance learning truly is working and the community, there's not backlash against working parents and stuff like that, but, because, I sit here and I read the paper and of course I see the news, but where's the solid data that, is coming in? I mean, there's an article today, lots of articles in the Wall Street Journal, is it weekly, and one that caught my attention, if you follow me on Facebook, it's posted there, but the science keeps on changing. And that's where I get conflicted, because I read some articles that say, do not open up schools, and I read others that say it's totally, it's in the child's best interest. So I just wanna know, are you just watching the news like me, or are you getting some input? Because I honestly don't know. I don't know if Crystal is feeding you guys, if you're going to talk to the health officer or what. So that's it. But I like the October.
There are some medical metrics, we all know them, they're all public, but the academic and personal social metrics are equally important. So right now, our baseline is 0, right? We're at the start of the year. So we have expectations for daily usage of all of our programs. We monitor their usage. We will take attendance twice a day for the English language arts whole class and the math whole class lesson. In addition to that, teachers will be giving grades. In addition to that, we have district-wide assessments that we're giving at the very beginning of the year and 2 separate times throughout the year to track growth.
When will that
So
first one be?
it's not gonna start the first week, because you don't do that to kids.
No, no.
Unless you wanna turn them on.
No.
That's not the first
No,
one
I
I
know.
meant.
Yeah.
Once you've done the first assessment, when would you do the second one?
It
to
depends
measure?
it depends on the grade level and it depends on the subject, but it falls into the November, December, January, depending on the subject, just because of the amount of content that comes in.
Okay.
But we're also consistently tracking grades, we're consistently tracking homework. I think what we're gonna find in 6 weeks is the system that we've developed for distance learning is a tremendous improvement over March and is going to be a huge help to a lot of families. Especially because we are so lucky to have the Classified School Employees Association agree to allow their employees to serve as learning support monitors. This district is going to have a team of 100 people, 100 adults who are taught how to make Google Meet meetings to help children who aren't doing well.
That's awesome.
Where's those 100
employees.
coming from?
There are employees,
Classified.
Steve, they're yard duties, they're
Okay.
instructional assistants,
I see.
School
So that-
secretaries.
instead of- Okay.
school secretaries, library media. Their day is going from 8 hours of work to 3.5 hours of work. So we are very lucky through our relationship with their president, Enrique Zendejas, and his team, Jorge, Monica, that they have an outstanding team, and their representative, their CSEA representative, Robin, I don't wanna miss on the opportunity to recognize her. They have stepped up and said, how can our unit members help children?
That's awesome.
In addition, our teachers have signed an MOU that provides much more daily instruction, live instruction than what the state is requiring and what other big districts are doing.
Yeah.
Other districts are as low as, I read an article, a big district, 2 hours a day of instruction.
Yeah.
We're at 4 hours a day on our minimum day and 4.5 hours a day on a regular day. So we're way on the high scale of instructional time. That paired with the quality of the curriculum and the online tools, I think it's gonna be a success.
I think I'm excited to see, you know, what's gonna happen this year, scared, anxious, everything. And I think, you know, going to Rob's point of, you know, kind of seeing where we're at. Last time we talked, we mentioned that we wanted to check in with our staff and teachers to see what was working, what wasn't, right? And I've been thinking about that after that meeting, and I'm thinking too, if there's a way that we could also check in, obviously with the parents but the students. I'm curious to hear feedback, you know, at one of these points, maybe the October, November point of like, whatever it is we're doing, what we did, what worked,
Yeah.
what can we keep, and what, if we have to continue, what can we change?
And thank you for saying that. One of our board members, Liz Martinez, after the last meeting, Liz, I hope you don't mind I share this, but Liz reached out and said, hey, you know, when we have presentations from principals and we invite our teachers to come and present to us, we ought to invite our classified employees to come and present to us as well. I do want to say to the board, you have a district that is managed to catch lightning in a bottle with these parent town hall events. And we had an event last night with Aro Hardin that in one day has close to 600 views.
Wow.
Their entire school has 500 kids.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
In
That's
addition,
amazing.
right before you all came in for this meeting, Calaveras School had an event.
AAA.
Before your meeting started, they already had 550 playbacks of the meeting.
Wow.
Their whole school is 700 kids. So the reason I'm sharing that with you is because we have our student town halls starting this week. So in order for the board to hear from the student, I'm gonna ask the board to watch YouTube. Because we're gonna have these town hall events, not just now, but when we approach that
Excellent.
October 13th date, we are scheduling town halls
Yeah, that'd be nice
the
to know.
week before, so the board and the whole community
Good.
to talk about this. What's on our mind,
Get
what's
their
working,
input.
what's not working, yeah.
Good.
And,
You know,
Yeah.
Diego, I just, you know, on just sharing, going back, what you said as far as, you know, your plan and your early design of that and working with CSEA and negotiating that, a big part of the collaboration is having a district willing to work with their partners, showing them the respect, showing them the courtesy to value, you know, what they do and their service, and that's huge. Not many districts are stepping up. I mean, the fact that you were honoring our food service and honored them by, you know, a little bit of a bonus. I mean, they've worked endlessly since all this started to make sure all of our kids in San Benito County were being fed. With, you know, with all this scariness happening, but they were still out there, you know, happy and doing all this stuff. And I gotta say, I applaud you, Diego, so much, because you're the only superintendent at this point that has been willing and sitting at the table as a superintendent with your CSEA partners, because that doesn't even happen. You know, to have the superintendent there and say, you're just as important to me as our teachers union and, you know, our unrepresented. You deserve my time. You deserve my respect. And I want to hear how we can work collaboratively. That takes a lot from you and showing, you know, the ability to come together and really value and have a plan, you know, like being able to have all these people ready to, you know, already in pods, ready to jump in to help our kids be successful. Nobody has that together. Nobody in this county. So to me, that just exemplifies everything that you are, and try every day to show, and that's what true leadership is. And so I just had to, I had to say, I have to share it with our community because you are, you are honestly a good person, and you see the equity, and you demonstrate that to everyone. It doesn't matter who you are and what you do, you value everyone. And thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that, Liz. That's very kind of you. I do want to just also inform the board that in addition to what Liz pointed out about this group of, each school will have a group of CSEA employees, and actually one teacher employee who's also a learning monitor support, who work with their principal to basically come up with their list of kids and families they call and check in on, that they help, that they support, that they translate for, that they assist with. But in addition to that, our assistant principals for the last 7 days have been creating short instructional videos for parents that are going to be sent to every parent in the district, that are in English and Spanish.
Excellent.
That show how to go onto our programs, how to log into our attendance, how to log into our Google. It's not something we pulled offline and has been watched by 1 million people. It's our staff making videos for our parents, and by the first day of school, these will be out to all of the parents. So when you combine that with the training the teachers got, the quality of the curriculum we have, this team of people who are going to be supporting, calling, checking, and then don't forget, we have awesome teachers, super dedicated, smart, wonderful people. So I just think all of those things put together, we sit down in October, we take a look at it. Hey, if we're happy and we're off the list, we consider November 9th. If not, you meet 2 more times throughout the year, once on December 8th and once on February 9th, to basically make the same decision again.
I like it.
If you're good with that, I'll bring it back to the board on August 25th. That gives the community 2 weeks between now and then to email us, to call us, to ask more questions. So what this is for you all tonight is just a report, and then I would bring it back at your direction on the 25th with the potential approval of these 3 dates.
Can't you, if this is what you want to go with, I'll agree with you wholeheartedly. I just want to know, shouldn't we have a November check-in date too, or do you just not around the holidays? I mean,
I don't think we should have a November, because I think when you do that, you create a culture of uncertainty. It's sort of,
It's almost
that
monthly,
date's just
so.
kind of hanging there, like, as, and I think by spacing them out essentially 2 months each at a time, we're dividing the school year up that way, 2 months, 2 months, and 2
see,
months.
here's my theory though, that there's a huge appetite to get kids back into school. A lot of it comes from parents wanting to get back to work and the expense of daycare and the Y and all this other stuff. So my only concern for us is if other school districts start opening up, whether that's in the county or adjacent or something like that, and we're not prepared to, we'll have immense dissatisfaction.
But Rob, to your point, if San Benito County is no longer on the governor's watch list,
Which is the only way the other
that's
schools
the
will
only other way everybody else will open. Administration will recommend we open November. So they'll probably take a month as well to kind of adjust,
It's,
right?
what other districts might do though, and this is what I would caution the board, you might reopen and then you might close up 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I don't want
Because
that.
what happens is if you don't, what Steve said a month and a half ago about returning hybrid so we
I
could teach
remember that.
routines, that's the perspective of a teacher. And it's very important to say, if we're gonna do this, let's teach the kids what we want them to do. Because if we don't, when flu season kicks in November, and you have the symptoms to coronavirus are on the same list of the symptoms to the common flu. And you have to answer those questions, because one of the criteria to return is You answer a questionnaire every day. Do you have these symptoms? Okay, go home. Go home. Statistically, we have between 4 and 7% kids miss school in the month of November and December. For our district, that's 500 kids that would be home, that would need to potentially go get tested for COVID if they had reason to suspect they may have it, which would likely be the case because the symptoms are the same as.
And if you're on distance learning, they could be in quarantine and still participate in the distance learning instead of coming to school.
Right.
For the ADA part of it, it was, you know, what I was gonna say earlier, and speaking as a board member, but also as an educator, when this whole idea of distance learning first came up, I have to admit I was really skeptical.
Everybody.
And I wasn't blaming anybody. But I'm telling you, instead of just throwing up our hands and saying, we'll do distance learning, to your credit, you took the bull by the horns. I cannot believe how organized this is. From top to bottom. The way we've redone how we're going to evaluate the kids. They're going to get 4 hours, not 2 hours a day. To me, we're taking this serious. We're saying, yeah, we can't have kids at school right now, but that doesn't mean we can't be educators. That does not mean that we can't do these things and try to provide as much as we can for these kids. And this is light years over what we had in March. I mean, why should we have anything in March? I mean, it's a spur of the moment. But now, it's so well thought out. I actually think, I was worried about how much in the 3 months the kids would have lost from the last year. Granted, that is lost, to me, that's lost. But it's possible to definitely not lose anymore and maybe even gain some of this back with this distance learning because we're concentrating on the solid subjects, math, language, history, and science.
We haven't talked about it tonight, but our special education plan is very strong.
Good.
It is,
More the merrier.
it is highly successful. It's, the other thing that we put together that we sent out to parents, each site's sending it out via their email system. Our technology department did a linked video presentation for every parent, and it's fully bilingual in English and Spanish. It's on our district webpage, and it just takes parents through, get rid of the anxiety of the first week of how's my child going to get online. We've also shared it with YMCA, who is going to operate up to 8 classrooms at Sunny Slope with childcare.
Wow.
I was able to work with the local YMCA to increase the number of classrooms and to bump it up so that our families in the community can access this low cost, or in some cases subsidized, childcare service in our community. And there'll be a whole bunch of kids at Sunny Slope School every day because that's where we're hosting them for this service. And I just think it's all fitting together. And don't forget, every school has an intervention teacher with 4 instructional assistants assigned to them. That's 5 people serving 5 kids each every hour, 5 days a week. That's thousands of extra hours of
That's
teaching.
more than they would have gotten otherwise.
And
It really is.
And Calaveras, Mays, and Gavilan Hills all have, and Sunny Slope have an after-school program that has after-school staff who are going to be calling kids and holding these same between 2:30 and 6 p.m. It was in a couple of meetings ago. So you're just amplifying and multiplying the support that we're going to give kids. The thing that is going to be hardest for us to do is to replace the emotional tie of being at school with your friends.
That's a
That
given.
can't be replaced.
No, it can't.
And that is going to have a cost. And in future meetings, months down the line, I will be asking the board to consider hiring additional social work or counseling staff, because when we do return, we will have social emotional needs that have been unmet, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to do something about that. But that's down the line.
Again, that's why I want to just emphasize is I just want to keep the door open that I don't think we can.
Yeah.
But if that door opens up, that we can open up, sooner than on the timeline, I would just love to have that flexibility,
Consider
just for that exact reason, that, the last point that you were, making.
That's the hardest part, Rob, is just acknowledging that it isn't meeting that need isn't being met. A lot of the academic needs, we are getting closer and closer to meeting, so.
No,
Can I say a couple of things here? One, I would like to emphasize with our teachers and our parents that if they find something that is not working for them, that we need to hear, they need to tell their site principals or their teachers, and teachers need to say to their site principals that, this isn't working out. And, if there's a problem that we need to have maybe a town hall on so that we can correct an issue for all parents. But we want to know if there's any missteps or if there's a problem that we need to fix, because the only way this distance learning is going to work is if we're told that there's a glitch and that we can fix it. We don't want to have students at home or parents at home and they don't say anything about a problem. So we want to make sure that we have make sure that there's a two-way conversation, that we want to have it open, that they can please, call up our IT department, but, go to the site principal and teachers go to the site principal and say, this isn't working for me, what am I doing? So that we can get these things fixed up. The other thing is, Diego, we have a lot of town halls on the YouTube. I wonder if there's a way that you could put together an email, send it out in bulk to the staff and to the parents, where you kind of give us maybe by calendar date the town halls that have been given out and the ones that that are about to happen, because when you go onto YouTube, it's kind of like all over the place. Maybe it's easier if you just do through your subscribe, but I think that some parents are unaware still that these are available to them. And maybe if we had just a big email coming from you, it might just again reinforce
So
that these town halls are out there.
I think, Jan, I've seen multiple emails from the school district as a parent. I've seen them via text.
Yeah.
I went on the website myself just to kind of see, navigate, and
Right.
saw town hall. So I think that
He's been doing
it's
pretty good
it's
job.
almost
Overkill.
overload a little bit, because I'm like, ooh,
All right, you
text,
gotta decide, too much or too little.
Yeah.
It can't be
I'd
both.
rather be on the too
But
much side.
I'm totally with you,
Yeah.
but I think it's, I think it's obviously getting people's attention. So let's
Right.
keep doing it.
yep.
Let's keep doing it. It works.
I got an email, or I was exchanging email, I don't wanna say with the individual, but they represent a large influential group here in Hollister, and they have a lot of kids that go to our school, but I was asking the question, do you think we're doing the right thing? And the respondent said, all I can tell you, Rob, is our community, meaning who they represent, is putting a huge amount of trust in what we decide. So, here I'm ambitious to open up the schools, but I have to be worried about them too, because, they're probably of the group that would be a higher preponderance to get the disease. And but no one can deny that we're paying attention and we're trying to do the right thing. But as I alluded to before, it just, it's shifting sand. So
I think what's inarguable about the way we as a school district have approached this is we've said we're not just gonna send out one survey or have one event. We are going to have 10 town halls, we're gonna send out 10 FAQs, we're gonna over communicate. And it opens us up to a lot of scrutiny. I can tell you that the COVID concerns email gets an average of 22 emails a day.
Really?
So it's
Yeah.
very intense,
Wow.
but we are out there resolving a
Good.
lot of issues. And if we had not set up that email, it would be up to every school, so we'd have 10 COVID responses instead of one COVID response.
Good.
And now that we've had the sites come out and do these site town halls, what you're seeing is it's drawing new people because we're getting new subscribers to the YouTube page. So when everything
That's good.
when everything was district wide, we had before this happened, the district had less than 50 subscribers to the YouTube page. When this happened, coronavirus, it ballooned to 500. When we went to starting the district town halls, it climbed up to 800, and today it's 1,120.
Wow.
And that's just after R.O. Hardin and Calaveras AAA. Tomorrow and the next day and the day after, we're having student town halls, 2 separate student town halls, and we're having Rancho Mays, Lad Lane, Service. All that's gonna bring more people to subscribe. And the reason I keep pointing that out, Jan, is because when you subscribe, you can sort videos so that you can sort them.
Right.
And we're gonna get better, Jan, at labeling them so they're clear that it's a Sarah Vista video or that's a district video, and that's part of it too. Once you hit a certain number of subscribers as a user, you're able to work with it a little bit more easily, and we think that that's going to be a big part of it. What I like about your idea, Jan, is that what you're saying is organize them and remind people, and I'm all for that. But I think we want to do it in a way that comes in as one package as opposed to 10 different messages.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And the only thing I wanted to add, Diego, to that is that, since you're incorporating classified, because I could see myself, as being a part of this pod, or, even like with our migrant students, and knowing that, I'm going to be responsible. And if something in my conversation with my responsible group of kids, and I see, okay, there's a problem happening, or this parent tells me this, what system in place are we going to have so that that person right away, as soon as an issue comes up or something that they're interacting with that parent because they've built that relationship and that confidence, this isn't working for me, or I'm having this problem, that classified then knows how to relay the message right away so that we can get those things addressed immediately. And we're not losing, we're not creating distance gap learnings because by the time somebody resolves whatever issue. But the more people that are going to be involved, I think it just needs to be clear how our support staff or whoever it is that are going to be there working and teams, can service and provide whatever needed service to our kids immediately or to our families immediately. So building that communication with our staff, I think, will be really important to know what the protocols and procedures will be for them to come forward with any concerns.
Thank you for saying that, Liz. Our administrators are going to, our first 2 weeks of school, all of our primary and self-contained teachers are going to do one-on-one meetings with students and parents after 12:30 p.m. until 3:30. And it's basically, it's kind of like, parent-teacher conference, but because we're in coronavirus, we're going to do it to start the year. So every parent will get to know their child's teacher. Yeah, it's very super good idea. It was part of our negotiation with the teacher union. At that point in time, all of our classified staff will be receiving training from the assistant principal and principal of the school to set up exactly what Liz talked about. The communication system, the standard operating procedures of how to communicate those needs to administration if more support is needed, and how to basically build that relationship with the family and the child. So With that said, that's my presentation for you all. I'm open for any additional questions you have.
So-
Like I said, this is information and comes back to you on August 25th, so it gives the community some time to think about it and reach out to us. They can always email us at boardmeeting@hesd.org or covidconcerns@hesd.org. And as I said earlier, these folks have no problem emailing us there. We get them all the time.
Good.
So, this is gonna be off the wall, but again, I read things and I wonder what we do, but is there a expectation of privacy, of the classroom, the virtual classroom that, has teeth in it?
Yeah,
Meaning, somebody can't be videotaping a student or, you know, things along those lines,
yeah, we have received, well, I guess, when you set up a Google meeting, you are able to put controls in place on who can share screen, who's visible, who's not. Each teacher has to be able to see the child, and we have to verify that it's the child. And for the most part, every parent wants their child to be able to see their peers and see their teacher. So in the event that a parent would say, I don't want my child's image broadcasted to anybody else, there's a way to basically facilitate that. The easiest way to do it is the old sticky that goes right over the top and says, you can't see me, I don't want you to be viewed. And we have actually, on our COVID concerns email, we've gotten a couple of emails about that, and we made that recommendation. You basically get a sticky and you put it right over the camera and you just communicate with that teacher and you say, I'm not comfortable with anything being broadcast from my home, and you're not going to see what's happening in my house. But that's a very small percentage of families.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But how is the teacher gonna monitor what the student's work is?
Well, you know, because of the online system we're using, Jan, we're basically able to see their Google work in real time. So if I assign my class to do a Google assignment, I can actually see the work as everybody's doing it. I can see it happening live in Google Classroom.
Right.
Okay.
How, on the first day or so, how are the teachers gonna know for sure that that's your student?
Because we have their pictures from last year.
Okay, I'm just speaking as a teacher
That's a
now.
good
I was wondering how that's gonna
Although
work out.
kids
That's funny.
like
They're
me,
smart.
who had 3 brothers all in a
Yeah.
row.
That was my
When
thought.
I was in
Especially in
4th,
middle
my
school.
brother was in 5th, my next
Yeah.
brother was in
Oh,
6th, my next
man.
brother was in 7th.
They'll sit in for each other.
If this had happened when I was in school,
Oh.
Yeah,
I would have been in a
trouble.
middle school class, I would have been all over the
That's
Yeah.
funny. That's a good one.
My brother would have been doing my math work.
Don't give them ideas.
No, they wouldn't.
That was just my point,
That's
Yeah.
funny.
All right, thank you. folks.
Anything else on that topic?
Nope.
All right, Jan, what announcements would you like to make?
I don't have any announcements, but I would like to add a future, agenda item. Doesn't necessarily have to be for August.
Okay.
Can I do that now, Rob, or wait for the
Yeah,
second round?
Did you leave it off?
I just left it off, but
Yeah,
you're
go
welcome.
for it, Jan.
I'd like to know about the trees and the barrier planting.
Yes, I do too.
And I don't care if it's the September meeting, it looks like August might be kind of jam-packed. So if we want to do it for September, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that'll be all.
Elizabeth Martinez, any announcements?
None, Rob.
All right. Carla?
I'm good.
Steve? I have no announcements to make except that I and some other people from here participated in Stuff the Bus. All those backpacks there. Yeah, I don't believe you were there because I didn't see you, but
Oh my goodness.
I was there for 4 hours.
where were you?
I was wearing a black sweatshirt and I was doing yard work, so you wouldn't have noticed. My hat pulled down.
No, I went over there to pick up backpacks for with my wife, and you know, what was missing this year was student volunteers. So anyway, Crystal and Vicky Fortino of United Way, if you walked in there and you had 2 hands and 2 legs,
You recruited.
yeah, so that's what got done. And if
You were on the high school side, I was on
Yeah.
the elementary school side.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
but I have to tell you, I just love seeing that happen because people either donated everything that's in there or donated money and it was bought. And that goes to the underserved kids of our school district.
Good.
So
Almost 1,000 backpacks for our students.
Wow.
so anyway, that was a fun a fun thing. I did see Ken Woods and a few other of our employees, but I didn't see you.
I believe you there.
Yeah.
Rob, maybe he
He was
wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I wasn't in my best attire because I thought I was going to pick up backpacks. I get there at 9:45 and I said, these people are never gonna finish today. I mean, they were so backed up and I said, so I just jumped in and I was in there with everybody else. And then our director of facilities, Aaron Bezetta, showed up and he joined in. And then after that, we brought these over to the district office because usually families go there to pick them up there. Well, for coronavirus, you can't do that. So my Grand Caravan brought a couple hundred of these backpacks. We were throwing them on top of car seats. We had them all over. But it was one of those events where you know you're doing something good for somebody who needs it. So it was just a win-win all over.
So besides being fun, it sounds like it's a worthwhile cause.
Oh,
Thank you guys for doing that.
yeah, well, thank you. No, it absolutely is. It sort of breaks your heart, but there's a lot of goodies in there. That's the,
Good.
yep, so.
Thank you guys.
I don't know how you're gonna distribute them, but good luck with that, so. And Carla, I promise, I just put on my phone to remind me to get the arrangement with the county memorialized, or at least a letter of support, because Supervisor Medina did say what he thought that the county could do.
Excellent.
And but remember, just like us, we need to get their board to vote for it. And
Absolutely.
so
You want me to email a couple people?
yeah. Maybe I'll call you if but he's always followed up, and he's typically is watching these meetings.
Excellent.
So okay, so there being no further business to conduct before the board, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:32.
I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:32.
Right,
I'll second.
Diego, but before we leave, I know that we have the welcome back video presented. Could you share that with the board?
I will send it to you. I will send it to you today.
Why? What's going on? No?
Oh, it's just, there's my face talking.
I have to see it.
Oh, and I think, was it someone's birthday?
It was.
It was.
Oh.
It was somebody's birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
¡Feliz cumpleaños! Estas son las mañanitas, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that was Sunday, yeah, so today is my son's. So, I heard it first. Was there
Second.
second by Carla? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.